It's definitely safe to say that Travis Hunter is the best player in college football. We've never seen an athlete quite like him, as he can somehow be a star on offense and on defense. He doesn't seem to miss a play, he doesn't miss a tackle, and he doesn't miss a catch. Each and every week, Travis Hunter finds a new way to defy gravity and to defy logic, and he's truly one of a kind player. Despite that, his draft stock isn't as high as you'd probably think, as most mock drafts have him going in the teens instead of in the top 10. I'm not quite sure why that is, but in today's video, we're going to do a rise up video for Travis Hunter. We're going to go through his backstory and talk about how he got to this point, his crazy recruiting story between Florida State and Colorado, and ultimately how he has done with the Buffaloes so far, and how he has broke college football. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about Travis Hunter. In order to understand how Hunter got to this point, we first need to go back in time. He was born in West Palm Beach, Florida in 2003. He's the son of Travis Hunter Sr., who was both a football and track star in the area when he was in high school, and was also notorious for playing offense, defense, and special teams at a very high level. He wasn't able to play college football though because he had to provide for his family, and since he graduated high school in 2005, he instead played indoor football. Travis definitely came from a sports-oriented family, but still, Travis grew up in a good home that put a lot of emphasis on sports, and he was definitely as talented, if not more talented, than his dad was. He transferred school districts from West Palm Beach to attend Collins Hill High School in Sewanee, Georgia, and he instantly played both corner and wide receiver. Before he even got to play varsity football, he was getting scholarship offers from D1 programs like Liberty, East Carolina, UCF, and South Carolina. His sophomore year in 2019, he had 7 interceptions and 36 tackles on defense, while also catching 49 passes for 919 yards and 12 touchdowns on offense. He was named an All-County by the Gwinnett Daily Post and helped bring a 6-5 Collins Hill team to the Georgia 7A playoffs. It was then that he started getting hyped potentially as the best player in the class of 2022, and Florida State offered him a scholarship alongside schools like Michigan, Florida, and Oklahoma. But it really seemed like the Seminoles were the school that he was most interested in, as he took a visit to their campus before his junior year to meet with new head coach Mike Norvell. He'd officially commit to them after that visit. He actually had the best high school season of his career during 2020, putting up 51 tackles, 8 picks with a pick 6, and a sack on defense, while also putting up 124 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground. And then here's the kicker. He had 1,700 receiving yards and 24 receiving touchdowns through the air. Max Preps named him their Junior of the Year and an All-American. He was part of a Collins Hill team that went 12-3 and made the state division championship game. He set the single-season Gwinnett County record for receptions, interceptions, and touchdowns as well. You had scouts wondering if he was going to be a better receiver than corner at the next level, but he had already earned his place as the #1 recruit in the class by the end of 2020. But something interesting happened in 2020 as well. Deion Sanders accepted the head coaching job at Jackson State, an FCS HBCU, and he was intent on bringing in high-level talent to the FCS in order to prove that HBCUs could be a good place to play football and get an education. He had his sights set on bringing in the best player in the entire class to play for the Tigers, and even though Travis was still committed to Florida State, he would shoot his shot with him. The 2021 season did not go as Travis wanted, since he ended up missing 5 games with an ankle injury, but he still managed to put up 4 picks and a pick 6 as well, and 20 tackles. He played against schools that hardly ever threw it his way, so it was kind of tough for him. On offense, he also managed to put up 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns through the air, and was able to come back and play in their state championship game, where he put up 153 yards and a touchdown to lead a 15-0 Collins Hill team to their first state championship in school history. Sam Horn was the quarterback, and he ended up at Mizzou, and in that state championship game, he put up 178 yards and 2 touchdowns, and broke the Georgia State record for career receiving touchdowns with 48. Pretty insane. He hadn't shut down his recruitment after committing to Florida State though, and was making a visit to Georgia. He then made a surprise decision to flip to Jackson State. He became the first 5-star recruit in modern recruiting era to ever sign with an HBCU school. Steve Wiltfong said, quote, "It was the biggest signing day moment in the history of college football." While some schools wanted Travis to choose between playing corner and receiver, Coach Prime at Jackson State was intent on using him on both sides of the ball, and pretty much every snap he could, he would be on the field. After the season was over, he played in both the Polynesian Bowl and the Under Armour All-American game, where he was the offensive MVP and also brought in an interception. He joined the most elite and hyped-up HBCU class ever, as Kevin Coleman also signed on to play for Jackson State. So how did he end up doing there? Well, Travis instantly got to work at JSU, dominating FCS competition as far and away the best player in the league as soon as he got to campus. He immediately formed strong rapport with Shedeur Sanders, and the two would connect a lot. But he didn't get to show it all that much since he got hurt in their first game against Florida A&M and didn't record any stats. He had to sit out all 5 of the games for the Tigers, which was okay, since Coach Sanders had built up a solid roster at Jackson State, and they were not only the best team in the SWAC, but one of the best in FCS football. Travis did not return to the field until they played Campbell, and this was a game where the Tigers struggled but still won. He ended up having 4 catches for 24 yards, and he got eased back into competition. After that, he was a machine. He had multiple games with both receiving touchdowns and interceptions while he played both offense and defense, and finished the year with 19 tackles, 8 pass deflections, 2 picks, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 defensive touchdown, as well as 18 catches for 188 yards and 4 scores, and keep in mind this was all in just 7 games. Jackson State would end up making the Celebration Bowl, which is pretty much the national championship for the HBCUs, and he had 4 catches for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns, even though they would end up losing. But after a lot of speculation, Deion Sanders would leave for a Power 5 program, given how strong his teams at Jackson State were, and there was the thought that he would utilize the transfer portal to take all of his talented players with them. That ended up being the case, as Deion accepted the head coaching job at Colorado in late 2022. Travis was one of the handful of players like Shedeur and Silo who ended up hitting the portal and would follow Coach Prime to go to Boulder. When he arrived at Colorado, Travis was a part of a team in Colorado that surprised the college football world by winning their first game of the season opener against TCU. They were a team that made the national championship the previous year, and a whole bunch of people thought they had broken college football. In that game against TCU, Travis would play 147 snaps, finishing with 119 yards and an interception, and it was just all over the field. But Colorado had a lot of holes in their roster and struggled with depth at times, and even with the star talent they had, they'd only finish at 4-8. None of that was due to Travis, though, who in a lot of ways was pretty much the only reason Colorado stayed competitive in any of their games. He was the team. This was made apparent when he got hurt in Week 3 against Colorado State, as over the next 3 games, Colorado looked downright terrible against Oregon, USC, and Arizona State without him. They did make a comeback against the Trojans, though. Colorado would also lose all their games with him back, but it wasn't for a lack of effort on his part. During that embarrassing overtime loss to Stanford at home, he put up 140 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, although the game-winning score was on him. He did have 2 picks the next week against UCLA in a loss, 8 catches for 98 yards and a touchdown in a loss to Oregon State, and then 82 yards and a touchdown against Wazoo. In his final game against Utah, he'd go 8 of 107 for a touchdown against the Utes, and that would be it for him. He finished the 2023 campaign with 57 catches for 721 yards and 5 touchdowns on offense, and also had 5 pass deflections and 3 picks on defense. In just 9 games, he had almost a quarter of Shedeur Sanders' passing stats directed all to himself. He finished the year as a consensus All-American and a second-team All-Pac-12 selection, as well as the winner of the Paul Hornig Award for the most valuable multi-position athlete in the sport. That would pretty much continue so far in 2024, as in Colorado's first season back in the Big 12, he's looked pretty solid. Even though Shedeur's been a little bit shaky at times and the offense hasn't been able to get that much going, it's not Hunter's fault. Colorado started the season off with a close victory to what is probably the worst North Dakota State team we've seen in a long time, as Travis alone would put up 132 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns as a receiver. The following week in a loss to Nebraska and Dylan Raiola, he put up 10 catches for 110 yards to go alongside a TFL. Shedeur would repeatedly miss him for big plays, including a really bad pick 6, where Travis was open on a slant, and he decided to throw a really bad pass to the boundary instead. Then, in a victory over Colorado State in the Rocky Mountain Showdown, he put up 13 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on offense, and an interception on defense. So far this season, he's not only the best receiver, but the best defensive back as well. He has 342 yards and 5 touchdowns to lead the Buffaloes on offense, and then on defense, he has 11 tackles, 2 pass deflections, and a pick so far. That's over a third of Shedeur's total passing yards in the season, and that's also 5 of Shedeur's 9 touchdown passes. He straight up is the Colorado offense right now, especially since the Buffaloes are running the air raid. We'll have to see how he does against both Baylor and UCF in the upcoming weeks, and he could have an opportunity to be even better. So what's next for Travis Hunter? Well, not only has Travis been considered a lock to be taken in the first round in the 2025 NFL Draft, but he's also been named a potential Heisman candidate. This is coming off a team that might not even make a bowl game this year. Sure, a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's one of the most marketable players in college football, as he has a huge NIL valuation, and people tune in to watch Colorado for no matter what they do. Travis has been the main bright spot of the team, and he has truly been a superhuman at times. There are some concerns with NFL scouts though about his durability, considering he has lost huge chunks of time during the past few years of injuries, and he's playing pretty much every snap on offense and defense for Colorado. He will have essentially played 2 college football careers at once by the time he declares for the draft, which will probably be at the end of this season. I can't see a world in which he comes back. He probably won't be able to play both sides at the next level, given that the NFL coaches will want him to be as healthy as possible, but he still has a really high ceiling for either receiver or corner. Whatever he chooses to play, he'll do well at it. If one doesn't work, he can always try out the other. Travis Hunter has truly been insane. Since his days of high school, people have seen him as a big-time athlete who had a near limitless ceiling, and so far he's been historic, playing on both sides of the ball, helped turn around Jackson State, and has been the best player on Colorado during the Coach Prime era. We'll have to wait and see how he does in the NFL and how the rest of the season goes, but for now, today we talked about the best player in college football and his rise. What do you guys think though? What do you think of Travis Hunter? How do you think he'll do in the NFL? And what players should I cover next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.